This is going to be a juicy one. Me and my big spiritual ego. So I wanted to make this video a while ago. I had written it down and didn't get a chance to do it. And it came about firstly, initially, to do with the fact that when there's twin flame content out there, should we call it out if it's not feeling true, or should we not call it out? Is it our spiritual ego if we are saying what we want to say? You know, if there's misinformation, should we trust our intuition and call out bullshit, including our own bullshit? That's the thing. So then it got me thinking more about my own bullshit too. And if you've noticed in the last few posts that I've been doing the last few days, I've been doing a lot of stuff about the DM's perspective, which I will continue, and also calling DFs out on their bullshit as well. So I wanted to make it a while ago when I saw some twin flame coaches or content creators creating things which didn't align to what I felt. And then I was quite ballsy with saying things that I wanted to say, which could be perceived as ego as well, right? Anyway, continuing on. So that was the first reason why I wanted to make this. It's not a retaliation to anything from anyone else at all. But then the second thing was I did a beach sort of swimming picture just this week where I was talking about divine masculines. I did a post about their life being meaningless without the divine feminine, but not from like an egotistical perspective, more so from a perspective of, you know, it's like when you both come into union in wholeness, you both of your lives are kind of complementing each other because that's your mission, to meet, right? To rise and to help one another. And the divine masculine, when he runs, does feel lost. And when he rises, he realizes it's in the divine feminine's energy that he actually is going to find meaning and purpose, but also for her as well. But she finds it more so with God. It wasn't done from a place of like, oh, you know, you are nothing without us. You need us. Even though some people might have perceived it that way. Because I had one or two messages, had two messages on TikTok actually, where they're like, oh Manny, come on, stop being so egotistical. Or this post right now is ego driven and your twin could see it. And it was like, it was a playful sort of thing. But I knew maybe my energy was off, perhaps, you know. I wasn't meaning it in that way. And clearly, obviously, after that, the universe or your twin will balance that out from you if there is ego, because that's what they always do. And my twin reacted as such. So that was that. And then it got me thinking about where I've overshared, you know. Have I been vindictive, especially in pain? So I was told quite early on that there's like a sacred code between twin flames, and whatever the DM goes through, that's their garden to weed, and we allow them to do it and not get rattled by it, which as a divine feminine is very hard, you know. We take it personally, we get triggered. We're the ones who have our mouths open and are very communicative, and they are silent, right? They're not saying anything, and they're running away and doing stuff, which annoys us. And we see it physically, but we do stuff too. We're not perfect, right? So in the beginning, I kept very low key about talking anything personal. But my energy would have been seen by my twin and observed or felt, whether it was off or on, for example. And that's how they do. They feel your energy to see where you're coming from, whether ego or not. But anyway, I did a YouTube video interview a while ago, I think a year or two ago, and not 2 years ago, because that's when I started doing this stuff in July. So about a year and a half ago, where I spoke to a divine masculine, and they talked about, it was a divine masculine who is in a female body, and from India, and they talked about all the stuff they had done, all the drinking, the drugs, the sleeping around, and all the toxic stuff, right? And in that interview, I kind of let slip what my twin had done, and that had triggered my twin. So I edited that out of that YouTube video. And then I've kept my mouth shut, really, until last year, October, November, when I was going through South America. And I decided at that time I wasn't going to go into union. I gave up. I gave up on union. But I didn't give up on the fact that I was in a twin flame connection and that I had a twin. I didn't change my twin. I didn't swap it around like some coaches do. You know, they have a new twin every month or year, it seems at times, which is fine because they're grappling through whether it is a connection or not. Anyway, so basically I decided I don't want to be in a twin flame connection anymore. And then when I was traveling around South America and I was trying to forgive, I had the Mapache tobacco and I did the forgiveness live where we were smoking. And in there I let rip of a lot of things. And I didn't give a shit at that time, actually, because I had enough, had enough of all the stuff and I wanted to express it. It had been suppressed for so long. But those things can be quite hurtful, right? Because even though the twin is the same soul from a higher perspective, they're actually a separate physical vessel, body. And they have a right to what is said for them, right? They are silent. Just because they're silent doesn't mean we speak for them. What they've done, what they haven't done, what traumas and triggers have caused them to behave in a certain way. There's always another side of the story, right? There's always another side of the story. So we don't have the right to speak for them, really, do we? It's a sacred code that I overstepped, you could say. So, yeah, I'm going to carry on reading. There's a lot to get through today, and there's probably going to be a lot of really good learning in there, actually. Because we are always learning, right? The journey to becoming a divine feminine is not signed and sealed straight away. We start off in distortion, as does the masculine, and it is learning and progressing and moving forwards. So I will be changing the way I say things and do things. Yeah. And before I start a live, I have been told that, which I haven't done, which I'm going to do now, is just we pray to God and say, dear God, allow everything that comes out of my mouth to be for the highest good and to be pure and divine. Right. Okay. So the sacred code between twins, right? So don't overstep the line. Keep stuff private. Union is getting closer for quite a lot of us now. So don't sacrifice it for others, for followers, etc., because the DM will mirror that. They'll sacrifice union for their followers or their other people. So keep that sacredness sealed in. Don't leak the energy. So, yeah, I have talked a little bit about my bad things that I have done or the kind of, because none of us are perfect, okay? And the DM always mirrors our own unresolved issues. And as a DF, we never want to accept it. That's not me. But deep down, there's something. The core wound is the same, and the way they behave is different, but done perfectly to destroy the ego. So I'm going to give you, I've talked about in the past that, I was in a relationship for 6 years and my ex used to call me a bitch, and I was not the best partner. And also I've talked about me being a slut or being very promiscuous in the past. And I have not become who I am today by being a saint all my life, and we all deserve redemption. And I still don't think I claim the title Divine Feminine fully because I'm not there yet, okay? I still step and slip back into the ego because inner union, enlightenment, all of those things are always in flux. They're moving. It's not just because you've got it, you've done it. When Buddha got enlightened, he did say that that's a state. But when you return back into the city and you start talking with others, it is again about maintaining that because you have to stay in 0 point. When the twin comes back in, when you start getting into reunions and unions, you have to learn how to keep your energy calm, right? No blame, shame, expectations and all that nasty stuff. And you're like, oh, but then Manny, how are we going to have a relationship? I'll talk about that because you'll get to a point where you are so in bliss and in peace with God, so fulfilled and whole, you don't really care about anyone else coming into your life or giving you anything because no one can give you anything. And the Divine Feminine's role is to be focused on God, totally fulfilled. And then the Divine Masculine is focused on the Divine Feminine. And also he gets a little bit jealous that, oh, why is she so much into God for? Because you are self-fulfilled. You're sitting on that mountaintop looking at all the beautiful scenery down below in a state of peace and bliss, total forgiveness, total love, total divine feminine energy. Because the divine masculine won't approach you if you're going to be in bitter and resentment, okay? But anyway, when you're in that state, you're not pushing. You are releasing, you're letting go, you're allowing. And then the DM will join you when they're ready. And they join you quite quick when you get to that stage. But anyway, this sacred code between twins. And I'm talking about my bad stuff as well. Because I have, and I do apologize, because I know my twin, I'm certain that he watches my stuff in secret. So I do apologize, my twin flame, for bad-mouthing your things and saying stuff that wasn't mine to say, actually. And I was in distortion, you could say, and I was in my ego. And though it may have benefited many, and it could have been a lesson for many of you, it kind of could put my union, like, stall it a bit, and put it in jeopardy, delay it, because it's not nice, right? It's not nice to hear your stuff in the public. Anyway, so basically, I've talked about loads of things about him, so let's talk a bit about me so that I can balance it out a little bit. So when I lived in India, I dated someone. And I'm saying this in in context to how the gay scene can portray people, but not just the gay scene, the world in general, society can portray us in a bad light, right? And doesn't mean that they are always correct, because I talked about stuff that people have said about my twin, right? That he's this and that and the other, and I don't really fully believe it because I feel like they exaggerate. Well, they did. In India, I was dating someone and people didn't want us to be together. So they told him, oh, Manny is HIV positive, which I'm not. And he didn't fully believe it either, but they were saying things to break us apart. And to me, they were saying stuff like, oh, he's sleeping with other people and he's doing this and he's this kind of character. They tried to bring your character down. So in that respect, you could say that I've also been subject to people saying bad things. And since 2015, I was doing a lot of LGBT activism, gay activism. And people used to say things to me. And when I was in my 6-year relationship, people used to create fake dating profiles of me or my ex and show it to us and say, look, they're cheating on each other or whatever they're doing, which we were not, So people do try to bring you down. And I haven't always been saintly. Like I said, I used to be someone who was avoidant of feelings, okay? So I never used to fully be able to feel not only my pain, because it was too much to bear, too much emotions, had suppressed it all, and then let alone my partners, So when I used to date, I used to kind of, if someone was too emotional, I used to shut down and become quite cold. That's why my ex, didn't think I was a great person. And also saying things that were like not sensitive. So my ex had a lot of traumas and a lot of issues, and I would kind of play on them and dismiss them or not acknowledge or be downright nasty. I was not a nice person, okay? So I need to acknowledge the fact that if none of us are perfect, and we all are in flux, and we're all on a journey to become better. And if you want, in the comments, you can write down, the truth of yourself as well, and the fact that you ain't a saint either, okay? We are both light and dark, and we're trying to navigate in that point in the middle to be more balanced. And therefore, we should be more forgiving, because who are we to judge another, okay? Who are we? So, yes, I used to be quite toxic, actually. And also during separation, we always blame the DM and saying, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that, I mean, during separation, I was in a very terrible place too. And a lot of the stuff was being released from my system. When I went to South America, I did sleep around. I did, date people. But before that, I was not. Now I've been celibate since December. But even before that, now I'm in a good place, right? I'm more of in a 0 point balance. Don't really need anything from anyone. Trying to really bring all my energy within. But there was a period in the beginning, especially, and divine feminines go through this, where a lot of sexual energy is being released. So I did flirt with people. I did have a lot of father wounds and other issues. And I was acting in ways that would not be my normal self. There was a stage where I went insane a little bit, especially with chatting and dating with some guys, actually, sharing sort of suppressed fantasies or issues. So in that respect, I'm not one to judge, And I have told my twin as well in an email that I've done stupid shit. So to bring your twin's backstory and history, and then also what they do in separation, is not really appropriate, because you're not together, right? Until you are in more of your divine centered energy. So that's that. But you can argue that public shaming someone can help to dismantle their ego quicker. But it is unkind though, isn't it? And but then you could also say, why do that thing in the first place? If you're going to do something, be man enough to be able to own it. But I guess, I haven't fully explained all the things that I've done in my past and my ugly past. So, and if someone did come on a live and start talking about all my stuff, like, what right do they have as well? It's not really nice, Yeah. And then you can also argue that why do something in a public arena if you're ashamed of it, But then it's not our story. It's not my story to tell anyway. So I'm just explaining that it's very important for us to be mindful. If we're going to be getting into a union now this year onwards, then we need to be very mindful that we start getting into our divine feminine energy rather than being tit for tat or vindictive or judgmental. Okay. So I did chat to a DF whose name is Isabella, and she is from, I believe Sweden or Switzerland, I can't remember, but she channels, right? And so if anyone's interested, please let me know. I can give you her email. But anyway, she channeled for me, and she said that speaking the truth is a way to reclaim your power. It's a way of liberating yourself, and it's not harming the other. It gives them a chance for healing too. She says your words are part of healing, and all the stuff that you've held in silence, you're letting it out. But the DM, this is my thinking, the DM is silent, is a silent partner in this situation, right, for all of us. And they also need to speak when it's the time. And we need to honor that, I guess. Anyway, she said, speaking when done from the heart is great because it's not to punish, but it's to be free, right? So we have to be wary. Like, I know from some lives, maybe I haven't always been in my heart, maybe there has been resentment, anger, frustration, when things have happened with my twin, he done something or whatever else. So in that sense, there is a need to come from the heart. She says, openness brings light to others who are in the dark. So let your voice move like the wind, honest, free, and full of life. And she said, those who truly hear can feel only the love in your words. So I don't know how you perceive things I've talked about, whether you've got any comments about that, you can write that down, because sometimes maybe I've overshared. So going backwards, I feel like maybe I have compromised my union by oversharing, and it's important to protect what we have and not leak your energy anymore. So I think from now on, when I do lives or posts, it'll be more generic and not personal stories about my DM and what's he done, because I just don't think that helps progress anything forwards, does it? So now I'm going to go more general about how this can apply perhaps for you to help you into union, okay? Because it's very important for us as twin flames to call out our own bullshit and to stay in a place of centered peace and balance, but to know also that we are the devil and we are the angel. We're both and that's what the twin shows us as well. We have no something to stand on, was it? We have no step to stand on. We have no, that phrase, there we go. So it's important for us to temper our language and focus on us. So in a way it works is the DF needs to learn how to keep her mouth shut, and the DM needs to learn how to keep his zipper, his trouser zipper shut. Because the DM tends to stay a lot usually in the lower chakras, right? In the desire realm. And it's important for them to bring it to the heart. And for us as well, to not be in the mouth of toxicity and bring it to the heart. Just as Isabella had said about bringing it to the heart, okay? So don't have any stings like a viper or a scorpion going, like, there's no point, right? Stinging at each other, having competition and jealousy is no point. There's no need to compare with one and each other or have competition battles and jealousy, because God has made us perfect and we are being created perfectly for each other as twin flames. Otherwise, we slap God in the face by saying that we're not good. Now, I'm going to make some posts about body dysmorphia because the DMs have it too. They don't feel worthy, right? Because their insecurities come up. But a lot of DFs have it too. And there is all these issues about our feeling that our bodies are not good enough. We need to love every dark part of ourselves, which is our twin also, right? And cleave them or bring them to our heart, to our bosom, to our chest, and cherish them. Because they're just showing to us our shadow selves, and we ain't perfect. So love it all, no judgment. The divine feminine is meant to be like a mothering energy, yeah? And yes, the DM sometimes can be a shitbag, but he's your shitbag, right? So imagine a mother with a child and they're being naughty in the playground. It's still your child. And you know what? Sometimes the DMs, and I've had a few DMs this week that I've been, coaching and working with, and they seem to have surpassed the DFs sometimes. Some of the DFs are sort of in their ego, so it does switch. So the DMs hold space too. Right. So becoming a divine feminine is a process. You go from distortion to divine, and so does the DM does the same. Now, if we judge our DMs, they will do their things more. They will rebel, okay? So we need to not hold their feet to the fire and judge them, because they feel that and they don't want to be judged. Accept them. They have been used, abused, and tortured as kids, okay? They've had very terrible lives. And they have been used to the matrix, the lower energies, the ego, the desire, all the addicted stuff. That's what their life had been, right? So to expect them to have a complete change straight away is challenging. They're going to have to navigate through all of those energies. Like, for a lot of DFs were in the spiritual realms already, albeit still in their shadow. And so the DMs won't come forwards if they're afraid that you're going to judge them or sting them or attack them. They just won't want to. Why would they want to? They need to know they are sovereign and have their own social stature and standing and purpose, and not just your sidekick that will be abused by you and judged by you. So it's very important as DS for us to master the art of 0 point and stay in neutrality and balanced and peace. And you get to that place when you're no longer judging another person or comparing another person or wanting anything from another person, because you're already fulfilled and in wholeness with God, okay? So let your insecurities go. The DMs can smell and feel when you're insecure or being toxic, and they won't come near you. They've had enough of toxic feminine energies, okay? Both the DM and the DF want to feel safe. The DM wants to feel safe externally, so they don't want to hear any negativity from you or judgment, but the DF wants to feel internally safe, right? So the DM wants external safety. So the DF must be balanced, calm, compassionate, not needy. And the DF wants internal safety. Now, a human being's never going to give you safety, okay? There's always ups and downs with that. So we must anchor ourselves with God in 0 point. God alone. Men won't give us safety. They're always in flux and flow. So 0 point is going to give us a safety. The DF looks to God and the DM looks to the DF, okay? And we're meant to be spiritual. So we're meant to be loving and kind and embodying the values of Jesus and Buddha. And yes, it's a process, but we know better now, okay? And we've got to do better. So no attacking, no bullying, because it can be perceived as bullying. You could say that my lives have been online bullying to my DM. That's not nice. I do apologize. And we make amends. We change. Let go of the blame, shame. Work that out and let it go. So when they say things like, basically, with your twin flame, like they're just going to return very gently and not necessarily apologize or bring up the past. It usually comes up later once you're stabilized, and they may not bring it up. The universe may bring up similar scenarios for you to just let go. But before all of that, you have to work through all the issues alone within. Okay, you have to forgive them. You have to love yourself. You have to see where it comes from, your core wounding, and you have to work those things out inside. And in the beginning, it seems like it's challenging and you hate them, or you're triggered, or they did this, and your ego's really in uproar and in flames, and it wants to attack and it wants an apology. How dare they do this? Don't they know who I am? I suffered, I this, I that. It's all I. And all that has to go. Because there is a realm, okay, where you're in your ego, and that's pain. And then you can step out of it, defocus and refocus on your soul and be in a place of peace and bliss. Let it all go. Just like I've seen in the plant medicines, just like I've seen everywhere, you can easily let it go by choosing peace, by choosing love, by choosing forgiveness. It feels really nice. It feels way better. Because with twin flames, it is the unconditional love that forgives, right? So we have to learn to let it all go. Don't lower our energy by going into the ego. Otherwise, we are a hypocrite, okay? A lot of DMs are afraid of religion. It's been used to control. they're afraid of spirituality. And so all the distortions that have been shown to them through that, they kind of run away from it. Now, if we are acting like hypocrites and not being loving and kind, then it will push them further away, right? They'll say, gotcha, you're not as spiritual. You're a hypocrite, you know? But there is a positive. They can start to realize, if they evolve, that you're in your ego, you're fickle. You also are not always stable. And that's good too, as then they can realize they don't have to be perfect either, because you're not perfect. You're kind of like their idol that they look up to, right? So when you sting, it's not great. But they understand that you ain't perfect, and no one is. And that basically they don't have to be perfect either. And all this time they ran away thinking they were unworthy, less than, trying to be as good as you. But now they can realize they don't need to do that, because you ain't even good. And they've leveled up, right? So bring your energy back to yourself, be self-fulfilled, self-focused, in God, in 0 point, not pushing out. Release it all. Feel whole and complete. Be magnetic. Allow them to come whenever they need to come, if they want to come. And just be in a place of, it's okay. I don't need anything from no one, because I am fulfilled. And I don't need to hold on to anger or resentment or anything like that either, Otherwise, the DM or the divine will balance it out, and you'll get a tower. You'll get an ego death, okay? And that happens to both twins. But basically, if we do not get out of the ego, we will be balanced out. So don't be like parental, trying to tell them what to do. I've talked about, being a divine mother in the sense of embodying that, but you don't need to be going out and saying, do this, do that, and you need to fix up. It's very toxic. It's very entitled, very egotistical. Allow them to connect with their higher self. Ooh, we went away for a second. So we're going to start abiding by the twin flame code, which is weeding in your own garden. Let them get on with what they got to get on with to empty themselves. Oh, I'm going to talk about some other things. We're nearly towards the end, but let's talk about some juicy things now, okay? So sometimes they can say you got double standards. Now, you could say maybe I've got double standards and I'm hypocritical, and I'm working on that too. And it's very good for me to be transparent as a teacher, because I feel you need to be transparent as well, and we need to work on ourselves. So I was driving to my sister's house one lunchtime this week, and going to give her some milk and help her with the baby. And I had a realization. So my twin wore feminine clothes, and it used to really trigger me. And I was like, why? Because I'm supposed to be divine feminine, being gay and being bullied wearing girl. As a kid, I did try once or twice my sister's dresses, or wore like paint, or wore my mom's high heels. And I used to get bullied for it or told off. I used to wear like tea towels, and my dad used to like filming stuff, and I used to pretend to be like my old grandma. And they used to be fine with it, to be honest, but I used to feel quite insecure about it. So my twin was just mirroring those things, right? And I always thought like, oh, as a masculine, you're meant to be wearing men's clothes and be very macho. And so that used to kind of trigger me a lot, but it took me a while. And I have, if you notice, I wore a jumpsuit recently. I've also bought this amazing outfit, which is kind of like gender fluid now. And it's like, you'll see it. I'll wear it on my Scandinavian cruise in July. But it's like kind of crop top up to here. And then, it's like, how these days that people like celebrities are wearing all these like gender neutral clothing and stuff. It's like that. But I would never have done that before. Never, until my twin had kind of like expanded my horizon. And I was kind of like being quite in awe of the fact that I've got out my judgment in that. But where the hypocrisy might be seen from some, or my twin at least, is I've always judged my twin's nudity, right? And I felt like he did it for validation, attention, whatever else, which is fine. That's his business. And then all of a sudden you see me in my underwear, my swimwear on the beach, I don't tag like gay Instagram accounts or whatever. I don't necessarily look for validation, attention, or I don't look for sex for sure. I'm not doing it for those reasons. I was doing it for self-empowerment, for getting over my issues. I always had an issue with like being topless. From a young age, always. And I've talked about this before. I grew up in a household where like nudity was all right, but for me it was like not right. And so basically it was a reclamation of power, but also as a teacher trying to teach and also trigger some of the divine feminines who had issues with distorted sexuality. Like when I did my first underwear post, I think last year, 100 and some 20 people unfollowed me and they reported me. Oh my God, he's been hacked, because I did an underwear picture, right? And it was very big thing for me to do, first time ever, because I was trying to show to my twin, you know what, I can progress and I don't have to be so uh, uh, Puritan and conservative. You know, I can also be, you know, here, look at me. Even though prior to that, I always judged him for the way he did it. Because as twins, we always feel the energy behind the picture, the video, the post, the what they're doing, right? If it's coming from a place of wholeness and empowerment, or from need and lack and attention, and it kind of turns us off otherwise, right? So basically, that could be seen as being hypocritical from me, right? But now that I explain it, you can see that it's a little bit different. And maybe I will do less of that kind of stuff, or not do it anymore. Depends on my energy, because I don't want to encourage my twin to do any of that stuff. And recently when I said there was a balancing with my twin because he did something like that. So I need to be careful, because the divine feminine is more subtle, okay? It's more in prayer to God, and a little bit of cleavage, or a little bit of softness, a little bit of seduction, a little bit of sensuality more so, rather than raw in your face sex appeal. So there you go. Thought I'd mention that. Bringing the focus always back to yourself and your self-love, and doing it that way. So the DMs, they've been used to all their life lower vibrational stuff, you know, the lower chakra stuff. So it takes time for them to work through to get to the higher vibes, as the DF is. But some DFs are in lower vibes. So let's not judge the journey of the child learning to crawl and walk and run. It takes time. Right. Sometimes the DMs may think, you know, how dare you take me to God's feet and compare me to Jesus? You know, especially when they feel like they're not worthy of it. They're the dark energy, they're the lower energy. But you know, Jesus was a badass too. Jesus wasn't just all love and light. Jesus was a badass, and also rebellious, you know. And the DMs, sometimes when they're in the lower energies and not evolved fully, like to rebel and reject the high vibe stuff, the religion, the spirituality, and things like that. So let them. It's fine. Because the thing is, we ain't fully embodying it either at times, you know. So in short and in conclusion, we have to make sure that we have no sting in our tail. And it gets to a point where maybe you have to empty the sting out of your tail first, because you can't always switch it off, can you? If there's all that pent up anger and resentment, which we have to let it out. But maybe let it out in ways that is more kinder. And hopefully we've already let it out, because for the last time I've been doing all this stuff, I've been helping, hopefully, for you to get out your anger and aggression. And a lot of you have had done YouTube interviews with me and let it out too. But I think now is the time to start changing that up. We need to forgive, and we need to stop judging, and we need to let the past be the past. Draw a line under the sand, start a clean slate. The DMs are waking up, they're rising, they're in their heart space. Why are we still playing the game of the ego, you know? So let's not jeopardize our unions. We are a work in progress, but I think it's time to take it to another level. So I'll just look at a few of the comments, and then feel free to write comments once the video is posted. But I shared quite a lot there, and quite a lot of open stuff. So if you've just joined now, please watch from the beginning if it helps you. But it might really help you to understand that I ain't no saint either. You know, sometimes I can be the devil, and I certainly have been. And therefore, yes, we need to make sure that our mouths are shut, and the DMs need to make sure that their zippers are shut, okay? Heal with Arya, lol. Have our mouths open? Yes, I want to say a lot, but keeping grounded, okay? There's other ways of letting it out, you know, positive ways as well. My DM confessed he's on weed now. I was feeling chaotic energy, and I feel overwhelmed by his weed right now. So he's addicted. He's using it as a coping strategy. Heal it. What are you addicted on? Energetically, mentally. So silence, which sometimes comes from twin flames, how shall we deal with it, and why is there so much silence from them? So I feel like a lot of these questions are not even on topic. So these are general questions that you have, which we'll bring it to a one-to-one or something like that, okay? They're silent. When someone's silent, there's a reason for it. Silence speaks louder than words, okay? And someone in silence is suffering, reflecting, growing, trying to understand and grapple the overwhelming emotions. All their lives, the DMs have suppressed emotions. It's too much. I'm going to focus just on things to do with this topic because I know a lot of you just like to vomit out any information and I'm going through this, I'm suffering. I've been there too. I've been there. There's a time and a place and we've got to have boundaries. Okay. Let's have a look. Hi, I love your journey and respect. Well, we're all on the journeys, aren't we? Let's just love each other. Hi, where can I find this live after? Because I watch it right now. Yeah, for sure. It'll be on the page. It'll be on the page. It'll be on the page. 0 point is zero ego and only God's love. Exactly. Where you are whole and complete and fulfilled. I got angry with my DM for something what I was doing just a few days ago. Hypocrite. Thank you for your post. Exactly. We've got to know that we ain't perfect. Well, that's it. Perfect. So we ain't perfect. I feel like all of you were like fixated. Perhaps there's a lot of good information. Hopefully it helps you. But I will be posting kind of a different energy and slant because I want to change things from judgment to soul to love to union. There you go. Take care and I hope you have a good week.